This week, my name's Derek. This week I went down to, I was asked to represent the party at a NAACP branch meeting. One of the things that often bother me is that how certain people groups are very closed-minded to a diversity of political thought. And when I was there, I found it very difficult to engage people into looking at things in a different way. I guess part of what you were talking about finding your destiny and purpose is part of my destiny and purpose, I believe, is in education of those who are young to be more diverse in political thought. That we are not perfect, and we are man, along with the theme that you're going along. So one must peruse all political thought, and I believe that you'll come up with a more right-of-center type of belief. I came up with a right-of-center philosophy for the way I need to conduct myself and my own government. How do you get people's minds to open when they're already closed? And how do you enter that conversation without offending me?
I think it's a great question, Mr. Commissioner. I'm well sitting in the Commissioner's seat. Eric, I think it's a very good question. I would try to come at it in two different ways. I think the hardest thing in political dialogue is that it's too easy too quickly for people to get frozen into a position. And then it just becomes throwing arguments back and forth and nobody's listening to each other. The best conversations that you can have with someone to begin to change their mind and their hearts is to come alongside them, not in front of them, but to come alongside them. This is why, again, I think Jesus is such a great teacher. If you come alongside someone and understand where they are, to try to penetrate what are the deepest aspirations that they have, and then begin to try to shape the way you ask questions. Most people, when they want to go make points, they make statements. They don't ask questions. Questions are harder. It takes time. But if you allow that to happen, what is going to happen? The other person is going to become engaged with you, is going to become vested in you because you've taken an interest in that person or that group of people or whatever it may be. And I think when I think of many of my, just take one issue, Social Security. When I look at my friends in the African American community who have been most damaged by the fact that we have a system that penalizes savings, penalizes the ability to pass on to your children what you have worked so hard for. All of a sudden, when you can begin to do that, not by making the economic arguments first, but by trying to connect my children with your children, my life with your life, so that all of a sudden we're on the same path together. We're not like this together, but we're on the path together. We're on the Emmaus Road together. And in that sense, you then begin to have a deeper relationship and more trusting one. And then, given your reading, given your experience, you have to then have the agility of your own mind to figure out what questions do I need to ask here? What things do I need to better understand? And that other person is going to respect you for that. And then begin to say, well, maybe I don't agree with him on that, but you know, if he runs for office, I'm going to go with him anyway. Because I trust him. I trust him. And that's the way I think you change minds. I used to when I was, I've been involved in this really ever since I came out of my mother's womb, walking precincts. My daddy ran for Congress in 1950 and 52. I was born in 1949. I remember in 52, I'm 3 years old. I can tell you as I stand here, I can remember going around in the family station wagon with these speakers on the top of the car, and my father going into some of these neighborhoods or somebody going and saying, Richard Durant is going to be here and have coffee or whatever it may be. The thing that I always found so interesting about the way my father went about politics was that he went and met people's needs first before he talked to them about the ideas he cared about. And whether it was helping someone get a job, whether it was helping when there was traffic over by City Airport on Gunston over there, and getting the kids to be able to drag race on the runway strips at City Airport. Building relationship. And again, this is where I think we do a great disservice to Jesus, because everybody wants to just make him into this put their own things on him and make him this religious figure, when if you think about it, he came down to teach us about how to create a relationship with him and community from that. And if you think about it, politics is in some ways very much rooted in that whole idea. So let's watch the way that's done and start to imitate it, because it's probably the best, to use the modern vernacular, benchmark about how you create a shared vision. Because ultimately that's where you want to get to. But the shared vision comes ultimately through a shared friendship and trust. And that's what you have to build in those meetings. And it takes time. I mean, it takes time. But you have to have the patience, and then people will follow you. They will follow. Yes, sir.